right, so I'm going to get started with Roslyn. You want to be my first victim today?
Victim, sure.
So Roslyn, what was your move into product development like? Why, how, why do you love it?
I can say it was very challenging, and part of it was because I had fought so hard to get into a digital product management role. It was considered like a hot job at the company I was at the time, and competitive, and I felt like there was a question over whether or not I could do it. But I happened to be in a leadership accelerator program for Black and Brown talent, where I met a mentor who coached me through the interview process, and it was as a result of her support, sponsorship, and coaching that I was able to secure a digital product management role. And I think I brought a lot to it because previously I had done client sentiment analysis, so I really understood the client voice and kept that at the center of everything I was doing.
Yeah, and you are currently the SVP of Digital Product Management at Brown Brothers Harriman. That's awesome. Yes, girl.
Thank you.
So, if you could just speak to a little bit about, your career path and kind of how you got to where you are now.
Oh, that's a really
Do we
crazy.
have time for that?
I don't know. So someone call Oprah, Yama, get some
I think
tissues.
she's here though, right? She lives in New York, right?
So this is actually really full circle for me because I used to work for a lobbyist, and I volunteered for an organization called Dress for Success. One day I was volunteering, and there was a panel just like this where Sandy Webster was one of the guest speakers, and she had this consulting company called Consultants to Go. And so I ended up networking with her. Next thing you know, I was sending my resume. Then I was meeting people like Maggie. Then I was going on interviews at all these different, financial institutions. And then I was working at Citi and as a consultant, doing the client analysis work. I eventually got hired full-time and promoted from there. So it's been an interesting journey, and what I enjoy now is that I got to experience retail banking, and now I'm getting to see the other side of investment banking, which is a different client base.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely full circle for you.
Right.
Dress for Success is still a organization that we work with. We just sponsored them beginning of the year for their huge conference that they had, and it was like hundreds of people. So keeping it in the family.
Well, not only that, and it hasn't been announced yet, but the board president of that Dress for Success chapter asked me to join the board recently, so I'm really
awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Well, I'll be hitting you up more because, we'll be very familiar with each other. And Roslyn, I'd love for you to touch about your passion project, hashtag I Am Remarkable. Love to hear more about that and kind of how it started and what you're doing with it.
Sure thing. But first I want to say I'm a Citi alumni too, and I am so happy to be on a panel with Nikki. She's someone that was much further along in her career when I joined Citi, and I'm just so happy to know that you're in your dream role.
Thank you.
It's so nice it's so good to hear that, because how
Yeah.
many people, they wake up and they're actually excited to go to work.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen that often. But it happens for all of you that are consultants at Blend, right? Every day.
But I'm glad you mentioned I Am Remarkable, because that is something that I started doing by happenstance that made me look forward to going to work. So one day I got this email that I was on the Voice of the Employee Committee, and I was like, oh, okay, well, what does that mean? And I got told, okay, you can join whatever subcommittee you want. So I picked the D, E, and I, and I'm like, okay, well, what are we supposed to do? And at the time, there were marketers at Citi that had great relationships with Google and shared with me that there's this program called I Am Remarkable, and it's about women, using their voice and talking about their accomplishments, going through things like imposter syndrome, and really coaching women and people from underrepresented groups on how to flex that muscle. So their slogan is, "It's not bragging if it's based on facts."
Yes.
There you go. And so from there, it just took off. Next thing you know, I was the organizer for 30 women from Citi to go to Google headquarters to take this training. Then HR found out about it because I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. And then they got happy and said, "Well, could you do another one?" And then we ended up doing another one. Then they said, "Well, can you bring it in-house?" And then next thing you know, myself and a few other women at Citi were getting trained to lead these workshops. And we just went rogue. We just rolled them. Yeah, we did. We just rolled them out at Citi. We were getting together with small groups of people and having organic conversations about the challenges that women and minorities face in corporate environments. And what was interesting was having male managers come to me and say, "I really want to join one of your workshops." And I'm like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah, I manage women, I manage people that are just culturally different from me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to support them." And so I ended up really breaking the mold and the rules of Google's I Am Remarkable curriculum by letting men, come in and
they need women need allies too,
exactly.
And that's great that they took it upon themselves to
exactly.
be a part of that.
So that was one of my joys, and I believe it became one of the official D&I strategies for Citi North America at the time.
That's awesome.